What is going on, peoples of YouTube? It is yours truly back to you with another coach interview for the Duelist Pokemon League Season 8. We have a relatively new player. He was here Season 7, and his name is Syklone. He is the coach of the Honolulu Horsies, and his team consists of Celesteela, Clefable, Buzzwole, Gliscor, Nihilego, Tangrowth, Jellicent, Uxie, Persian-A, Sliggoo, and Mega Camerupt. Now, we talked previously, right before this draft started, about what was your general idea going into this season. Why don't you tell the viewers, once again, because we totally didn't restart the recording because of internet issues. But yeah, tell them again what exactly was your plan going into the season.
Well, from the very round one, I knew I would probably be getting Celesteela, so I was considering other Pokemons to go with it, and my second round pick was Tangrowth, and I knew that it would probably make it back to me, but I wanted to be able to grab a lot of higher tier Pokemon, and the best way to do that is to draft a lower tier Mega, so I went for the Pyrite Mega, Mega Camerupt, and one of the nice things about drafting Mega Camerupt is it gives you more points, so you can better build around it and kind of fix your draft a little bit. And it's something that everyone has to prep for, so that's nice about it. And along with the buff that Uxie got, it's something I wanted to grab really early to help my Mega Cam. You know, getting Levitate and being a good Trick Room setter is something that I saw being really valuable for my draft.
A little bit of context, he's referring to, I assume he's referring to the price drop Uxie got going from season...
Yeah, from C to D.
Yep, from tier C 100 points to tier D 60 points, which is definitely huge for such a good mon like Uxie. A decent C tier, really good in tier D. You mentioned Celesteela, Mega Camerupt kind of sort of being the center around your team. How do you properly build around, especially like these two mons in particular? They certainly aren't the fastest mons ever there, and while they certainly have wall breaking and defensive, and in the case of, I guess, Celesteela, even sweeping capabilities, how do you support a team? How do you support such a duo like that?
Well, a lot of it is the other Pokemon I have. I have like 4 Rockers, I believe. I have T-Spikes coming from Nihilego. It's not something that you want to prep for because it is more of an offensive Pokemon, but a lot of my offensive Pokemon are really good defensively, and Buzzwole, Gliscor, Nihilego, even Mega Camerupt and Celesteela. So even though it's a little bit slower, I do have Trick Room, 2 Trick Room setters in Jellicent and Uxie to try and help that. And so it is more of a bulkier team in terms of beating other teams.
No, that definitely sounds like a good. That definitely seems like a good idea of how to pair these two. I guess a quick follow-up question would be, you and I talked about Trick Room being a large part of your team. Kind of elaborate a little more about that, if you will.
Well, I think Trick Room is pretty underrated in Draft League format. I didn't want to over-rely on Trick Room, and I didn't want to under-rely on Trick Room, so I only drafted 2 Trick Room setters, although both of them are pretty good. And there are some speed tier issues within my team, but the nice thing about Trick Room is they're not sure if I'm going to run Trick Room or not, so speed creeping some of my slower Pokemon may or may not hurt them rather than help them. So that's something nice to have.
You mentioned your speed tiers are a little bit of an issue. I'm kind of curious because I'm looking at your speed tiers right now. They're not exactly the worst thing in your world. You do have a couple of fast mons. Persian-A being at base 115 speed is it's definitely not the best it could ever be, but it's certainly not terrible. Especially when coach I just recently interviewed, Prehistoric Pokemon, had a base speed of 113 at maximum. I do notice a lack of a base 80 mon, although you do have Buzzwole at 70.
Yeah, Buzzwole is 79, yeah.
Which is sort of close enough. I'm kind of curious now. What did you mean by speed tier issues? Because I don't think on paper, on the sheet, it doesn't seem all too bad.
Yeah, there is some issues in the fact that I have 2 base 95 mons, I believe, 2 base 60 mons. Sure. I think Celesteela is 61, and Clefable is 60, and like Sliggoo is 60. So there's a little bit of an overcrowding. It's definitely not a team that I can see making it all the way to the end of the season. But for some of the snipes I face, I feel like the speed tier issues aren't too severe, but the fact that I have Trick Room, it kind of helps the fact that there's a pretty big gap between the Hiligo and like Persian-A and like my base 90s to my base 70s.
And what got sniped from you? Remind me again.
I guess it wasn't like a huge snipe because it is a good Pokemon, but Zapdos is something I was looking at in particular. But I went with Gliscor instead to try and fix that problem.
That is certainly interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to how you pair Mega Camerupt and Gliscor together. Mega Camerupt does complement the ice weakness, but they're both incredibly weak to water. Although you do got plenty of water resist, Jellicent, Tangrowth.
Yeah, I tried to get Tangrowth early because I knew that I would be drafting Mega Camerupt.
I sound like a broken record here because I mentioned it on my last two interviews. Again, hazards are a huge part, and you do have access to, I think, all of the hazards sans sticky webs. I don't think you have sticky webs, but you do have toxic spikes, and stealth rocks. You do have a couple of defoggers, but I'm just gonna get everyone's opinion on this at this point. What is the precedence on the presence of Rapid Spin? Rapid Spin was a huge part in Draft League when it first started up, especially around Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. It seems to have dropped off a little bit, but where exactly does it fall personally within you?
I would say that Rapid Spin is there's not a lot of great Rapid Spinners in the meta currently. Donphan was something I was looking at, but I was going to go for Gliscor instead, who, in my opinion, is a lot better of a hazard removal. And I don't think I have more than one form of hazard removal, and so I wanted to make sure whoever I drafted was really good at getting rid of those hazards. And Gliscor is something where you can put defog on it most weeks and it'll do well.
Yep.
But I think the biggest problem with hazards is, especially this gen, and so many Pokemon, especially the fairy types, got defog, and so that kind of hurts hazards a little bit. So even if it's a lot easier to draft a decent Pokemon that learns defog rather than having to be forced to draft a Rapid Spinner like Hitmontop, who doesn't do too much aside from spin. So there are better options out there than some of the lower tier Rapid Spinners.
Now, there is something I do want to take attention to particularly. You said you really wanted Tangrowth early on, and Tangrowth has a really good ability in Regenerator. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily need direct recovery all the time, because you switch out, you switch back in, you switch back out, and, you know, it could automatically get up to 66%. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to lose nearly as much momentum. People usually pair that up with a bulky water type mon that does have Regenerator. I can definitely see why you didn't want any of the slow mons, the slow grow, slow king, because obviously that conflicts with Uxie. But talk to me. What other Regenerator mons were you maybe looking at and just decided not to take?
Some of the Regenerator mons I was looking at was, I would say, Tornados was probably the biggest one I was looking at, although that went around the same time that Zapdos went. So from there, it was basically kind of meh. I was considering the slow bros, but the slow bro and slow king, but overall, they're a little bit more passive than I would like. And Jellicent, it's a pretty good mon for my draft, in the fact that although it's like base 60, it can be rather fast if you make him speedy, and it gets taunt, which is something nice for my draft. Like, gets a Will-O-Wisp Hex, which is pretty nice in a bulky water that doesn't have to come every week.
You do definitely have the wall breakers, and you do definitely have the wall breakers, and you do definitely have the walls and the tanks. I don't. Nihilego can definitely spiral out of control. Clefable can definitely spiral out of control, like Calm Mindset. Even Mega Camerupt, if you set it up with Trick Room. Are you concerned maybe at all that your options are maybe a little bit limited as far as win conditions are concerned? Because I see Celesteela, Clefable, I guess make a camera up. Depends. But that's I could be estimating here, but please elaborate.
Yeah, I think as far as wall breakers are concerned, is not like a huge amount of them. Like aside from Buzzwole and Nihilego, most of the Pokemon on my team are pretty passive. But both of them are, I think Buzzwole and Nihilego kind of complement each other and complement my draft pretty well. And that although I only have 2 really good wall breakers, I think they're okay to kind of depend on, considering both of them have Beast Boost, and both of them have a lot of great high stats. So that like Nihilego, you're not sure if it's going to get a speed boost, a attack boost, or even a Spadef boost, which is pretty nice to have.
Right.
And along with the fact that like some of my other bulkier mons, all of a sudden they could be offensive as well, such as Celesteela and Clefable.
And then as far as your cleaner options are concerned, again, Celesteela, Clefable, maybe if you set up Trick Room correctly, Mega Camera could come in and do things. Anything else I'm missing?
Well, yeah, it's just a lot of ways to chip down the opponent, which is something that Celesteela isn't really amazing at one-shotting 6 mons, so it really appreciates the chip that a lot of the other Pokemon provide.
All right. Your team is definitely one of the more interesting teams. It's definitely a lot more centralized. I'm definitely looking forward to see how it plays out this season. No specific questions, no remaining specific questions concerning your team, but I do ask everybody this. Of your split, most threatening team and least threatening team, what are your opinions?
I haven't looked too deeply into the teams, but I think probably the most threatening team is I'd say the least threatening team is probably, I would say, Mewtwo's, just because it's a little bit weird, and he first round Mimikyu, I believe, which isn't the greatest mon to build your entire draft around. I used it last season, and it didn't perform super well for me, but I'm sure he can find a way to make it work. As far as the most threatening, I would have to say the most threatening team would probably be Shavers, I would say. Although he has just because he has a lot of stuff that he's comfortable with, and he's one of the better battlers in our division. So him having like, I believe he's used Mamoswine and he won like a championship with it or something. So that could be something threatening, and I faced him relatively early.
Weren't you the one that told Mewtwo to draft Mimikyu round 1, or was that somebody else?
No, I had no clue what he was drafting round 1.
That's right. No, it was Piplup, because little bit of context, Piplup wanted Zygarde 50%, so he convinced Mewtwo to get off of it, and I guess he ended up drafting Mimikyu as a result of that. I thought maybe it was you, but no, that was Piplup, not you. And as far as the Mamoswine, Shaver did use Mamoswine Season 1 and won the championship because of it. So he is definitely comfortable with that mon, and Mamoswine is just a threatening mon in general. I've taken that thing all the way to championships. It's not here in DPL, but in another league. Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. I wish you the best of luck to the season. You and I face each other week 3. Week 3. That'll be a battle for sure.
We do.
Yes, we do. I faced Piplup week 1, and then Escher, and I think it's you. Yeah, I'm looking at the sheet right now.
But I thought I faced Shaver week 3.
No, hang on a second. When do I face you? No. I do face you season 3. You face. Oh, excuse me, week 3. You face. You have Escher week 1. You have Mewtwo week 2. Yeah, you have Mewtwo week 2. You face me week 3, and then you face Shaver week 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be a interesting battle. Thank you, YouTube, for listening in on this coach interview. This has been yours truly, along with Syklone, coach of the Honolulu Horsey, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Ah!